Noemi Chavez is a pastor at Revive Church in Long Beach, which she founded with her husband, Joshua. She is also the co-founder of Brave Global, an organization whose mission is to prevent the most vulnerable, both here and around the world, from becoming victims of human trafficking. By ministering to young girls and empowering them to understand their worth in God's eyes, she hopes to inspire change that transforms entire communities. Please welcome Noemi Chavez.
Noemi, hi. Thank
Hello.
you so much for being with us today.
Thank you for having me.
Well, you have such an awesome ministry, but before we jump to that, tell us a little bit about your testimony, your story, and how you got involved in this.
Yes, so we've been pastoring, my husband and I, for about 15 years in Long Beach, and we always wanted to serve in our community. One of the things that we learned asking the chief of police, how can we better serve our city? He said, father the city. And so we looked for ways to connect with child.
What does that mean, by the way, father the city?
The city. Well, he said.
Seems like a really deep answer for a cop.
He basically, well, actually, he's a strong believer.
Oh, yeah.
He's a passionate follower of Jesus, and he said, we have a fatherless city.
Yeah.
And so he said, have leadership step in to parent the city, parent children in our communities. And so both my husband and I grew up in church. And both of us have both of our parents still alive who have been married for a very long time.
Yeah.
And so we prayed and we asked the Lord, how can we do this, God? How can we serve our community better? And we were able to come to the information that over 70, up to 80, and even 90% of girls that are being trafficked in the city were at one point in foster care and on probation. And so we connected with the social workers in our city, in our community, in our church, teachers, in the school system, probation, because these case files are available to them, right?
Yeah.
And so if we as a church could come alongside them, how can we inspire these girls and how can we encourage them to make decisions that would not take them to the streets? And so our logo, Inside Conversations, was we want to get to them before the pimps do.
Yeah.
And so we started to meet with probation and with foster care. And in our first opportunity for us to actually gather some girls that were in foster care, they literally brought to us about 200 girls.
Wow, and you must have been just overwhelmed.
We were in tears. Our team was in tears. We felt like God was trusting us with something that would greatly impact the future of young girls, not only in our country, but internationally.
Yeah.
And so each year, our conference and our gatherings with these girls grew by over 100. And we've had over 600 girls foster care, probation, and social workers in our gatherings, and we have found many other ways to connect with them. And so as we did this, other churches got wind of it and started asking us, what are you doing? And so out of that was how was birthed Brave Global. So now we are coaching churches throughout the U.S. and internationally, and we see it's caught fire in the hearts of believers who have said, I have a heavy, heavy heart for girls that are being trafficked. And we said, well, how about we get to them before they end up on the streets? And so that is the heart of who we are. We want girls to know that they are not the problem, that they are a part of the solution, but they don't know this yet. So we get to inform them, you are a part of the solution for our world today.
One of the most amazing things I've learned from this interview is just that there's such an obvious connection between foster care and human trafficking.
Yes.
Like I would have never guessed that. And
right.
And you know, I think we've always known there's a big need for foster care, and we love it when, especially Christians, you know, from our church or from other churches, get into the foster care program, because we know that, you know, who knows, you know, how good that experience is going to be for the kid.
Absolutely.
Why do you think that connection is there?
Well, the vulnerability, the sense of abandonment, and being embraced by somebody who would apparently care for them, right? So years ago, I came across a woman when I got to share it with a group of people from the Salvation Army, and this woman came up to me and said, man, I wish you would have shared this when I was a kid in foster care. So she basically told me, as an adult, I came to faith in Jesus, and I fell in love with Jesus. She said, but it took me a long time to forgive the church. She said, I used to walk by a neighborhood where there was a church constantly, but nobody ever reached out to me. I didn't know how to go into this building. And so we made it a decision at Brave Global to say, not on our watch, if there's any churches and organizations that want to reach the most vulnerable girls and prevent them from ending up in the streets or in the hands of somebody who wants to harm them, then we will be that army that goes into those spaces and into those opportunities to journey with girls ages 12 to 18 are the ones that we target the most.
That's awesome. What is something, if you're just a normal Joe or Jane and you want to make a difference, you feel like the Lord is putting something in your heart, but like, is there something simple I can just do on my own to make a difference?
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, what we offer even through Brave Global is just different opportunities for people to either pray, financially contribute, but then there are people who like to get their hands in the work of the kingdom.
Yeah.
And for that, we have what we call Brave Circles. We can also get in touch with the representatives in your community, in your cities, who are most in touch with girls that are vulnerable, so that we can find a way for the church to be now a life-giving stream into the life of these young women.
Well, another interesting thing is, on Hour of Power, I'm surprised how many sex workers we have that are watching the program, contributing to the program even, and yet they're still sex workers, and they see themselves as Christians, they feel stuck. What word would you say to someone like that? Like, how can they want to get out, but they're worried about their kids and things like that? What kind of encouragement could you give to someone like that?
Well, I think that my message is first off to the church at large.
Yeah.
When you come in contact with people who are being trafficked, or how can you offer them love? How can you walk with them? How can you be a resource to them? How can you be a part of their journey to transition out of that life to a place where their family is safe and where they are cared for? So it's easy to get overwhelmed or upset with somebody and say, just leave the lifestyle.
Yes.
But I think there has to be a love sensitivity for us as believers to not just check something off of the box in our faith, maybe even to vote for or against. It's like, no, we're called to journey with people. And so that right there is part of the answer. So anybody who's watching, I would encourage that woman or even that man to get into a community that will walk with them and really bring out their faith into a place where they can grow.
And what I hear you saying is it's a lot like the culture of a church needs to change, where a lot of churches would feel uncomfortable if someone came and they were dressed or acting a certain way that didn't fit the cultural norms of your particular church.
Yep.
And what you're saying is like, get rid of that lens and just almost have an eye for that person to make sure they feel extra welcomed when they come in. If they're hiding in the corner or seem a little uncomfortable, or like to make sure that they get a little extra attention. Maybe.
I think that kind of love is basically saying, I'm not afraid to be near you.
Yes,
and here's the thing is that we all have struggled with sin. And so there are people who are going to walk in through the doors of our church who maybe look and dress differently than we do, and it makes us uncomfortable. But then there are those of us who know how to dress really nice but hide the issues that are still offensive to God.
That's right.
And so if we can look past that, then we can look past that signature sin in their lives, then God is willing to deal with the ones in our life as well.
For those who have ears to hear, let them hear. Well, you can find out more about this ministry by going to braveglobal.org. Noemi Chavez, thank you so much for the work you're doing. You and your husband and your ministry, we appreciate you.
Thank you for having me.
God bless you.
Hi friend, have you subscribed to our channel yet? If not, then I hope you will. Our Power is filled with uplifting content to nourish your spirit and help you grow closer to Jesus. We've created this channel to remind you that no matter who you are or what you've done, God loves you, and so do we.